Hello everyone, welcome back to TechiePintu channel. In today's video, we are going to explore a new Python package manager called UV, a modern alternative to pip Python package manager, but way faster and smarter. If you have ever installed pip install -r requirement.txt and waited, then you definitely gonna love UV package manager because it can install dependencies from requirement.txt and pyproject.toml file in fraction of time. In today's video, we will walk through what UV is and why is it gaining popularity, why should you use it, and how to create virtual environments and Python project using UV. So without further ado, let's get started. So before we start introduction of UV, I would like to tell you that I have created this video in a separate parts, so such as UV introduction, Python installation, creating project, creating virtual environments. So if you know some of the part, you can just directly skip to that time step, otherwise you can watch the whole video. So let's start with UV introduction. What is UV? As you can see, we are on official documentation of UV. So UV is an extremely fast Python package and project manager written in Rust. As you know, Rust is arguably one of the fastest programming language, at least faster than the Python. And these are the benchmarks. UV outperforms Poetry, PDM, PipSync, and you can see the time 0.06 seconds. These are some highlights of UV. A single tool to replace pip install, pipx, poetry, pyenv, twine, virtualenv, and more. By the way guys, I have already created how to install multiple Python versions using pyenv. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it out from card button or link in the description. It is 10 to 100x faster than pip and some other details are there. So this is the basic UV introduction. Now let's start with Python installation. So for Python installation, I have created one empty directory called UV-tut, and here we are going to experiment it. As you know, when you work with Python language or Python project, you have to install different Python versions according to your project requirements. So how do we do it with UV? Before that, we have to install the UV. You can simply write pip install UV. And it will install it for you. As I have already installed, it says requirement satisfied. If not, then it will install it in your system. Now here, first we have to check what Python versions are available on our system. So you can just type UV Python list and it will give you a list which are available to download and some are which are already installed on a system. Currently I'm using Linux, so you see all the Linux versions. So see, these are the versions that I have installed in my system, and these are versions that are available to install. So let's say your project requirement is 3.10.16. So how do you install it? So simple command is UV Python install and the version name. So our version name is 3.10.16. Let's install it. And see, it started downloading, and you see how fast it is downloading a Python version compared to the old version that you download and put it into a system path and etc. And now to confirm whether it is installed or not, we can use the same command, Python list, and this will show us whether it is installed or not. And now see, it is already installed. And how to uninstall it? You just type uninstall and it will uninstall, and see how fast it is. It is 112 millisecond only. So this is how you can install and uninstall required Python version. Now let's see how to create a project using UV. Since we have already installed UV, so there is one command called UV init. What this command does is it creates a structure. Basically, if you go to the official documentation, it creates this tree-like structure. So whenever you set up any project using UV, it creates 4 files by default. One is .python version, readme.md, main.py, and pyproject.toml. So we are doing UV init in this UV tutorial project directory. When we do UV init, you see it created 4 files. Now when we type Python here, it says our Python version is 3.11.11, and when we check it here, see it automatically detected the Python version and put it down here, and same version is also in toml file. Now keep in mind the .python version file as well as .toml file should have the same Python version, otherwise it will create a problem when you run any existing project or maybe you give it to someone else. So make sure if you want to change it manually, change both the files, otherwise it will create conflicts. So we have 3.11, but this is one of the way to create a project, UV init. But what if you say, no Pintu, I want to create with my project name? So you can do it UV init and project name. So it will create a new directory with those 4 files. So before that, let me delete this. UV init my proj, and see it creates a directory. Under those directory it creates 4 files: Python version, main.py, pyproject.toml, and readme.md. So either you can provide a directory name, and if you do not provide a directory name, it automatically creates 4 files under whatever directory you are in currently. So this is how you can create Python project. So now let's understand what these files actually mean. So first one is .python-version. So this Python version file basically says that at the time of this creation of this project, the Python was used was 3.11. So if you pass this project to someone else in a GitHub or maybe a zip file, it says basically to run this project successfully on your system, you need to have 3.11 Python version. Often before this, we weren't aware about what Python version actually needs. So this is a good way. Second one is main.py. It is a by default file created by UV. Before it was creating hello.py, but they changed it to main.py. This is just to taste a simple main.py file, nothing much. And they create pyproject.toml file. Now this toml file .toml is basically a standard requirement file which required for Python project. It's just like Poetry creates their own pyproject.toml file, but this is a more structured way than the Poetry one. Now what it contains our project name, its version, description, the readme and the required Python version. If you see, it is 3.11 here and it is 3.11 but greater or equal to 3.11. So basically says whatever dependencies you want to install or whatever libraries you like to install, they should be compatible with 3.11 or more than 11. So this Python version is automatically detected by UV. Why this .toml file is required? So whatever library packages you are going to install will be listed automatically here in this toml file. That's why UV creates this file automatically, and readme file is standard GitHub readme file. So this was about the product structure and what each file means. Now let's see how to create a virtual environment, because we are working with any Python project, first thing we do is create a virtual environment. So let's go to the directory of my project. Okay. Now in this my project, we have to create a virtual environment. So there are a couple of ways that you can create your virtual environment. So the simple command is you just type venv and it will automatically create venv in this directory, which is my project, and see it is being created. Now what will be the version? So the version is 3.11. See, it automatically detects. Or you can go to the bin file and check 3.11. If it's a Windows, you can also check into the script directory. How do you activate it? As they said, you can just activate using this, but my previous virtual environment is already activated, so let me deactivate. Now if I activate this one, you see the difference. When you were using pip activating a virtual environment before UV, it was just saying venv or whatever venv name you have given, but here it takes the project name. So wherever your pyproject.toml file exists, it takes that base directory name. So it gives you a my project name, not a venv, which is good. I like, by the way. So here you can install any libraries. Now there is another way to create a virtual environment. So let's first deactivate it. Now let's say you say no, I don't want to create a .venv, because by default it creates .venv, but you are like no, I want to create my own venv with some specific name. So you can say venv my virtual environment, and it creates your virtual environment. So either you can just directly type uvvenv or uvvenv your venv name, and it will create it. And same way you have to type my venv bin activate, and it will activate your virtual environment. Now what if you want to create a virtual environment with a different Python version? Here the Python version is 3.11, right? But you want to create a Python version using 3.10 or 3.8. Then what will you do? There is another command. It's uv, let's deactivate it first, uvvenv -python space version name. So I want to create with 3.10. So I have to give a name to new venv and space --python 3.10. And see the best part is if you do not have that specific version, it starts downloading it. You don't have to specifically go to the website and then download it and then activate the Python 3.10 and then create the virtual environment. That's how we used to do using pyenv, but here everything just happens right in the terminal. So see, now how do you know whether the environment was created using 3.10? So go to the no venv bin and see, boom, it's 3.10. See how fast, easy, and everything at one place. That's why I said UV is faster and smarter. So yeah, that's how you can create UV. So now let's install some requirements into the virtual environment. I have deleted the previous one, so let me create a new one. venv source venv bin activate. So now how to install dependencies or libraries into my project? via virtual environment. Let's say we want to install pandas. So in pip, in normal pip package manager, we used to write pip install pandas, and then we had to create one requirements.txt. We had to manually add it, right? And let's say you have been working on a project for a month and you install lots of library. Some are useful, some are not, and in the middle of the project you forgot to add into requirement.txt and you pass this project to someone else. They have a hard time installing requirements. But the beautiful thing about UV, it automatically does it for you. So see, this pyproject.toml file, it does not have any dependency right now. So if we add it, so the command for adding dependencies in UV is uv add pandas. It is automatically downloading required libraries and it is being installed. See, these are this is the panda package and it required several other sub dependencies. Now if you notice, a new file has been created which is uv.log. Now what this uv.log is, see, this is a very big file. So what it does, basically pyproject.toml file installs or keeps the record of what library needs to be installed in a virtual environment. And uv.log is basically whatever library has been installed, it keeps the track of that library as well as its sub-dependency with exact version. So this is a numpy, this is the exact version, this is the source and sdistro and everything. So it goes for other libraries as well. See, for panda, the dependencies are numpy, python date util, pytz, tz data. So there are a lot of sub dependencies and dependencies. Let's say we want to install multiple requirements at once. For that, uv add numpy requests python.env. So you just like pip install the library names with spaces. Same goes here. And see, all are installed so fast. Can you imagine if you have done it with pip, it would have taken some time, and all are written here. And the UV is also updated. But keep in mind, you should not ever change uv.log file. You can change the toml file, it's fine, but then you have to again run this command uv.log or uvsync to sync the version of these libraries with sub dependencies in the log. So that's why never ever mess with pyproject.toml file and never ever mess with log file, because they have an exact number. So if you change anything, it will create a problem while running the project in your local system. So now let's say you are like, okay, I have added this, but I don't require this python.env in my project. So what you can do is uv remove.env and it's gone. See, usually with pip, what we had to do, we had to add .env request. Otherwise, what happens if you forget it, it will give us an error that, okay, this library is not installed, and we also sometimes forget to add it. But UV does it for us. That is one of the benefits. So now let's see how to install libraries from requirement.txt file to .toml file, because before UV we were using pip, and in pip we had to install using requirement.txt, right? So how do we do that in UV? So for that, let's add some libraries here. First I will remove uv remove numpy pandas request. Now if you see, we removed it, so this is also removed. So that's why never ever touch log file and pyproject.toml file, because they are getting updated automatically. So we have this pandas request numpy in requirement.txt. What you can do is uv add -r requirement. Okay, so this requirement is outside of my project, so let me put it inside. So uv add -requirement.txt. It is just like this, pip install r requirement.txt, but here we are using uv, so we have to use add and remove for installing and uninstalling. So let's take the above command. Okay, when we do this, see this toml file, it will automatically install all the libraries from requirement.txt and add it into dependencies, and see, all are added in fraction of time. So how fast it is. And UV log is also updated. Now let's see how to install requirements from .toml file. What if we have a UV project by default and we want to add all the requirements from toml file to our virtual environment? Then how do we do it? So here we have one toml file which has 4 dependencies. Okay, you are like, okay, let's say you don't have virtual environment. So this is a freshly new project that you got from GitHub, like you cloned from GitHub, or you got it from your friends. Now there is a toml file and there is no requirements.txt file. Then how do you install these dependencies into your virtual environment? So for that, there are two ways. Either you can create a virtual environment and then install it, and second one is both the process can happen in one command. For that, there is one command called uv sync. What this command does is it checks whether this directory, basically my project directory, has .toml file or not. If it finds the toml file, it will create a virtual environment for you and install it, all the libraries into it. So let's see the magic. See, done, boom, everything is there. So your virtual environment has been created and all these libraries have been added there. But now you have to run another command called uvlog. What it does, it also syncs all the packages with the log file. So see, and resolved 13 packages in 1 millisecond. So you have to run two commands, uvsync, which will create your environment and install all the requirements into that directly. And when you run uvlog, it syncs with your uvlog file. Some are the GitHub related information. When we are using pip, we are pushing the requirement.txt, but we don't have requirement.txt in uv. So you have to push these three files, .python-version, pyproject.toml file, and uv.log file. So you must push these three files. Why? Because if you do not push pyproject.toml file in uvlog, you will not be able to install or reproduce the same scenario in your local system. And Python version is required so that whoever is installing your project or trying to run it, they will have some knowledge which Python version is required for your project. Now we will see how to run the Python project. So here previously, if we want to run this main.py file, we were typing python main.py and it runs hello from my project. That is fine, but uv says I'll do it for you. So you can run it using uv run main.py and that's it. It runs a project for you too. You can just run it using uv run and file name. So uv is basically like it contains everything. It installs Python for you, it creates virtual environment automatically, installs dependencies automatically, it runs the program for you, it creates the project for you, and you don't have to do anything at all. That's why I like and I love it. Once you start using it in 2 to 3 projects or maybe a couple of weeks, you will never look back at the pip. I hope this video will help you in learning UV's basic concept, and next time you create a project, you definitely use UV package manager. If you have any doubts or suggestion, or if you think I have missed something, then please put down into the comment section. I will definitely reply you. And yeah, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.